Well, greetings, everyone, wherever you are on the planet, whatever, wherever you are, whoever you are, and whatever you are. Welcome back to iAwake. iAwake's WeAwake. That's what it is. And this is something we've been doing for, gosh, I don't know, a long time now. Seems like a long time in this very slow, extended period that we've been living. Like the pandemic really kicked in last March, and it seems like it's been 4 years. You know, it's just like, anyway, so here we are. And here we're, I think Pam or somebody had an idea. We're all meditating. Back in the day when we used to be able to get together physically, we had a get together of our team in our home in Southern Utah. And we were meditating, and we were all meditating up in our little meditation room using the same tracks. And it was a very powerful gathered experience every morning when we would do that. And so somebody suggested we should do a WeAwake instead of just an iAwake, where we can do this together. So we started doing it, and been just a really, just a really great practice. And from the emails and the feedback that we get, you guys are really getting a lot out of it too. So it's really important. And we're listening to Profound Meditation Program 3.0 today, and we're going to be going through this whole program, which consists of 17 tracks, I believe. Anyway, and we're on tier 1, track 3. So these are the first 3 tiers, and they all have 3 tracks, right? Anyway, go deeper and deeper into Delta. And by the time we get to tier 3, it's some butt-kicking, heavy lifting, powerful meditation. But it's all powerful, but this is really nice when we're getting into it. It's only 20 minutes. So that's, I don't know if that's good or not. I like long meditation. But anyway, and why the heck should we meditate? Well, I was talking to my dear friend and esteemed colleague, Dr. Roger Walsh, a couple of days ago, and he came up with this phrase, and we were just talking about the world and what's all the stuff that's going on so many different levels and so many different areas and quadrants. He says it's consciousness or catastrophe. And I said, wow, I like that, and it's not a really original thought. I mean, it's not for me, because the only way out is up, that I can figure out in my my prayers and my meditation and my readings, with up meaning that we, as a species, enough of us evolved quickly enough to these higher levels where we can begin to heal the divisions and the wounds and the chaos and the destruction that our family creates at these lower levels, whether it's to one another and hatred and prejudice and sexism, racism, you name it, or to our environment, or just tolerating the suffering of other sentient beings when we have within our power to eliminate it. Right? That seems like first grade stuff, but really we haven't got there yet. But I feel in my heart, and I think as we move into these things, we'll find the solutions. And I think it was Einstein said that you can't solve a problem on the level that it was created. It's like listening to two talking heads from MSNBC and Fox News, and they just yell at each other the whole time, and nobody listens, and everybody's just trying to score points, and nobody's really trying to make any solutions. And so we do need to evolve quickly. And how do we do that? Well, data shows us that meditation is one of the only known ways that causes people to move more quickly into these higher levels that we are capable of as human beings. And of course, it's not just meditation. It takes a lot. You have to have community support. You don't have to, but it surely makes it easier. I don't know if you've ever lived in a family where you were in one value meme and everybody else around you was somewhere else. You just feel like a pilgrim and a stranger, and it's difficult, but you can still do it. It just takes kind of heroic effort and not getting discouraged. So practice, meditation, integral practice. where we work on our bodies, our minds, our emotional, our trauma, and our spiritual stuff. And we put that all into a daily transformational practice in order to heal ourselves and to get us to these higher levels. And I think one of the two ideas that have come out of the integral movement that really deeply resonate to me, and maybe some of the most important stuff that's come out of the 20th century into the 21st century, is the idea of integral practice, that we can take a responsibility for our own evolution and our own growth and our own healing. And the fact that we now have technology such as iAwake that's actually speeding up the process and helping us to get there more quickly, and helping us helping us to deal with those shadow issues that may not emerge in traditional meditation. I think iAwake, the technology we use, really gets to that a bit more effectively, if not a lot more effectively. And the other thing is developmental, realizing that there are developmental stages that we go through from the time we're born till the time we pack in and lay our bodies down. And there are levels that we can get to, and levels that have evolved throughout our human history that can be looked at, traced, and understood. And it absolutely explains the culture wars in the United States, in Europe, and around the world, and why different people see everything absolutely differently, and they think they're completely right and the other people are completely wrong. Well, to heal that, we have to get to these higher levels of development, second tier or integral levels, different names for it, where we can begin to see that all of these levels are part of us, and they're part of the human family, and that we need to kind of go through those, and each one has its gifts that we need to bring forward. Good stuff, not to be left behind, brought forward, and each one has its own pathologies that have to be dealt with if we're going to survive as a species and as an ever-evolving life form on this beautiful planet of ours. So anyway, what we're doing today, and listening to Profound Meditation 3.0, Tier 1, Track 3, is a part of that. And it's always been our intentionality. It's what we're here for in iAwake. And so let's begin this thing. It'll be 20 minutes. And if you have a meditation practice, rock on, do it. That's fine. If you don't, one thing, this is a practice that I developed. It's called a centering meditation. Thought I discovered, stuck in my thumb and pulled out a plum, and boy, wasn't I smart. And I found out there's a huge tradition of it. So didn't invent it. I just kind of bumped into it in the collective consciousness some way, then found books and literature about it. But anyway, it's called centering prayer. You center on your heart, and you can just have a phrase that you use when your attention goes away from your heart and it starts to wander off. Just say thank you or amen or whatever it might be. And the intention is to really open and surrender yourself to your higher power, to your big self, if you will, higher consciousness, God, however you want to name that, and just be willing to sit in that silence and to receive whatever is gifted to you in that opening. And while you say silence, obviously it's your sound that you're listening to, but what the sounds in these tracks help us to do is to develop inner stillness, where the thought processes slow down and we can really get into the deeper levels of our own being and our own consciousness. So without further ado, let's rock this thing. Okay, Vanessa. that was nice. I was sitting here meditating, and I'm in my little office, and my dog Tatum was Pam helps me set up for this thing, and then she closes the door, and Tatum was in the office, and she comes and puts her head on my lap during the meditation. So anyway, I got a big burst of doggy love, which is really nice, and that helped my meditation actually. So that was sweet. And yeah, we've just been going through these very strange times with the pandemic, where we've had to stay at home, or then we've had those heroic people who are, the essential workers that still have to work, whether it's in the medical field, the people that pick up the trash, the people that, keep the water flowing, or all of these things that maybe don't get to stay at home. But we certainly have had that. And one thing that's been nice for me is that we have access to wilderness or to nature, that I go out and take my dog out in, and my wife often, and we walk through the woods in a very kind of isolated area. And of course, we're in Louisiana, and the bayou and the swamps and everything. It's not Utah, Southern Utah by a long shot, but it's got its own beauty, its own divine energy. But I'm trying to think back over these last 10 months, and have I used it as much as I could have? Have I used it to work on things that I might not have done otherwise? And yeah, well, of course, there's the continuing practice of meditation. I have started reading more, which is really good. I listen to tons of stuff. YouTube is like 21st century Library of Alexandria. And I don't know if you remember the library in Alexandria, Egypt, but in the ancient world, I think it was one of the seven wonders, and it was all the scrolls and all the knowledge from all these ancient civilizations were accumulated there. And then some Christians with bad attitudes got there in 300s or something and thought it was all pagan cow patties, and they burn it down. But I've used the internet and YouTube to train myself in a lot of things. And one of the things I've worked on is playing my guitar. And I've been really dedicated to that. And I always have my guitar right here next to my my seat here in my office where I do my work, and take a break. I can play. I can go, on YouTube, play along with Jimi Hendrix or Eric Clapton or B.B. King or whoever, and just steal everything I can from them and get into that mode. And it's really good for me. I think it's good for my brain, because I'm constantly pushing myself to go beyond my current capacities. And it's the science says that the brain can keep evolving no matter what age you're at, and regenerating, and that practice and putting in the time and pushing that comfort level to the next level. And it's very very satisfactory. And of course, the main thing I play, not exclusively, but is the blues, which is a great shadow practice. It's a great grieving practice. You can put your tears and your pain and the suffering of others into a musical form that, when it really gets rolling, makes you feel good. So it makes you feel good about feeling bad, and that's pretty good. And yeah, so, and there's some popular books that have come out over the last decade. One really significant one is called The Talent Code, talking about how it's just practice, stupid. That's how people get good. And you look at the great masters, you look at the Michael Jordans or the LeBron James, and the GOATs, they call them, the greatest of all time, or they're really exceptional people in whatever field, and they just put the time in, whether it's music or art or spirituality. You go, well, I'm not spiritual. Put the time in, and we have these technologies now that speeds up the process of deepening a meditation practice sevenfold. Some people have estimated, so I know it's a lot faster. And I struggled with trying to have a traditional meditation practice for years, and it just was on again, gone again, and usually off again, you know. And since I've adopted this, and of course it helps being the CEO, we talk about it all the time. So not to be a complete bloody hypocrite, you know, it is inherent on me to do what I say, which is, you know, how I hold myself accountable. But just putting in the time and being willing to be a beginner and to suck, you know, it's like, well, I'm not a good meditator. Well, who the hell's a good meditator unless you've tried, you know, years and years and years, unless you're some kind of reincarnated Buddha or Lama or something, you know, from it, and you just dang, you know, you've worked on it for lifetimes. But even then, you know, the story goes, you've been working on it for a lifetime. So that's a lot of practice time too. So there's just no way to reach excellence. There's no way to, without just putting in the time. And the more time that we put into something, and of course we have our plateaus and, you know, our breakthroughs, and that's just the way it goes. I think George Leonard wrote his little classic called Mastery about that. And, you know, you can't just fall in love with the spikes or the breakthrough periods. You also have to fall in love with the plateaus. And if you stick with the plateaus and love those too, you know, you will experience these leap forwards, these punctuated equilibrium, I think they call it. And it seems that in the fossil record, where everyone that was expecting after the work of Freud that these new species, they would find just this gradual progression from species to species. It's really not what they found. They found that new species just appearing, you know, almost, you know, instantaneous in super short geologic time, and bam, there they are. So I think that's the way our progress goes too, and that we go through. And sometimes it seemed that we even, you know, it seemed like they were going downhill. In a lot of ways, it seemed like that politically in the larger spectrum. You know, we've become more, there's been more animosity, more nationalism, more racism, more tribalism, and over the last, you know, few years. And there's a lot of causes to it, but it is also a potential for growth and working our way through there. And I think that the only way that we can actually begin to reach those levels where we can heal some of this stuff are at these higher levels of development that are called integral or called second tier, and different names. Or different colors. And anyway, most of you know what I'm talking about, but if you don't, look at the work of Ken Wilber, look at the work of Don Beck and spiral dynamics. It's essential knowledge for times like that, like these, and that we can also grease our spiral and speed our way up in a whole healthy way if we adopt a life of practice in order to become the people that we need to struggle with the issues that we're confronted with in our time, and to be a channel of peace and healing and wisdom and skillfulness. And that's the name of the game if you're a human being. So, and I think we are. So that's a pretty special thing to be. So anyway, thank you guys. We love you. And, you know, join us next week and we'll be doing level 2, track 1. And we'll work through this profound meditation 3.0, which is one of our just foundational flagship products that we developed early on, and it continues to be such a hugely useful practice tool. It's got 17 tracks, and you can use it for a lifetime. So, you know, grab it if you have it, or experience it with us week by week as we work through it. Either way, and invite people to show up for this. People that you might, you know, for our meditations together, it might be, you know, just needing this to be together with other people, as we can be in these times when we can't be together, you know, physically. There's still a field that's created when we do this together, and I'm sure those of us, you know, that are doing this have felt it. I certainly have, and from your you know, your feedback, you have too. So anyway, again, enough said. Love you. Keep up the good work, and you're awesome. Appreciate you and respect you. God bless.